right now I only have one 12-volt load that I need off the battery. That's just for my PCM power, constant PCM power to the computer. But I'm also going to need a tap off for the radiator fans. Speaking of radiator fan, I finally got one. Got it from a junkyard. Supposedly it's a 93 I think, 93 Ford Taurus fan, which has great reviews as far as massive airflow. So I've got it. I've set it up in here a few times, just kind of eyeballing, seeing how I'm going to mount it. I ended up getting some another fuse pigtail and a couple of relays. It is a 2-speed fan, so I got 2 relays. Be able to pick up either a slow speed, the low speed, or the high speed. In fact, here's my two wires right here for low and high speed, coming from the PCM. It's fan, it says fan number 2. And this is, yeah, it says low speed. There's them little relays I was telling you about. These are kind of heavy duty relays, like 65 amp, I think it's 65 amp rated. No, there it is right there. 60, 80, and 60. And the 2 ratings have to deal with, this is a 5-pin relay. So it's got the normally open and the normally set of contacts. Normally open and normally closed set of contacts. I'm guessing the normally open set of contacts is the higher rating, meaning they'll pull more amperage. But anyways, 80 and 60. I've got an inline fuse that I'm going to use. Ordered that. I'm not really too fond of this thing, but it's the only inline fuse I could find that was a 10 gauge wire. Of course, then again, my relay here is 12 gauge, so I don't know, we'll see. Alright, so last episode I had the motor running, just barely running. Took quite a bit of coaxing with my accelerator pedal to kind of keep that throttle body cracked open and keep this thing idling. One thing, I got to thinking about it, one thing is I haven't really gone over here recently. I know the older videos I did, but here recently I haven't really talked about this car, the history of it. Just so everybody knows, this is a 91 Camaro 3rd gen. Originally this thing had a 6-cylinder with a 5-speed manual transmission in it. When I purchased it, it didn't have either of those. It was just a rolling chassis, which is exactly what I was looking for. I already had this 6-liter LS right here. I got it. It came from a Chevy Express van, work van. Behind this I have a 4L80 transmission. Got it out of a GMC work van. So same year transmission, 2003 LQ4 LS motor. Transmission's also a 2003. I did rebuild the motor. When I say rebuild, I more or less tore it apart, did inspection on everything, made it look good. I did replace the cam. I put one of the stage 2, or what do you call it, sloppy stage 2 cams in it. It's from Elgin. And I also changed out the springs. That's the only thing I did to the motor. Transmission, did nothing with the transmission. Pulled it out, stuck it in. Okay, so that's the history of the motor. Things I got to work on now. Like I said in the last video, I got to work on the tuning of the idle. I'm very new with this HP tuners. I turned VATs off. That's the only thing I've done inside that tuner. Still learning a lot, watching a lot of videos, doing a lot of reading on it. So I'm very hesitant on it still. So it's going to take a lot of research for me to get a good, decent idle on this motor. So in the meantime, I'm going to start working on, actually I'm going to go ahead and work on this cooling system. First thing before I do have an upper hose, but before I put that in, I wanted to try to figure out this radiator fan. I do have a fan over here. It's come out of a Taurus. That's what it says. I got a metal tag that was hanging on it when I bought it at a junkyard. Said it was off of a 93 Taurus. Either way, I do believe this is the high flow fan. It also means it's also a high amperage fan. So I got some heavy duty relays. So I got some heavier amperage relays down here that I'm going to do it. It is a dual speed fan, so I'm going to see if I can get it mounted up in here and also get it wired up, see what happens. Alright, so I think I may come up with something. And I was starting to think about it and halfway doing it on that last little clip. But all I did was stick a bolt in the bottom of this this little tray, my radiator support tray. I pretty much got it centered, not center of the support, but I got it centered where I want my fan. Went over to my fan here, and all I did was just punch a hole in the bottom of that. So I'll go ahead and just set the fan on that pin right there, and that should keep it from wanting to go left or right, slide left or right. And there's enough room that it may, I mean, I'm just talking theory here. If it wanted to bounce up and down, it should still fall back down into the same spot. But biggest thing, left and right, and it's going to stay where I want it, left or right. So next I was trying to figure out how to keep it tight against the actual radiator. I didn't really want to bring straps all the way around the radiator. I didn't feel like having a strap rubbing up against the side of the radiator aluminum. I thought I was getting a little busy over here, so I didn't really I couldn't come up with a decent idea or system to be able to mount this. I was thinking about just somehow bringing a strap across and fastening it right here, but like I said, I didn't like anything rubbing on the radiator. So I figured I'd try doing the same thing I did to mount the radiator. Just build a couple little brackets like that, and that's what I did. So got these little brackets right here. So there's my brackets. Just a little hook on both sides. Just a little 1-inch. I cut some metal strips about 1 inch long and kind of beat them over and painted them up. And let's see how this works. All right. Well, that turned out better than I was expecting. It's holding it nice and tight to the front of the radiator, or the rear, whatever. Now, just the nature of this radiator, or excuse me, of this fan, there is a gap along the edge. You see it all the way down the edge right here. Same with this side right here. There's a gap all the way around it. But it's just on the edges, which I think is going to be fine. Both the bottom and the top are sealed nice and tight like that. I gave this thing the old shake test, and yeah, it's not wanting to go anywheres. I don't think there's any pressure really against the cooling fins, so I think we're good. If it looks like I do wear a little bit, then I might come back with some vacuum hose or something, split a vacuum hose and just lay it in there, kind of like what I did right here. All I did was take some vent hose or some sort of lightweight hose, and I just split it lengthwise and wrapped it over over the edge of the metal there. Now this right here does not actually contact that. Even if I was to pull this off, there is a slight gap all the way down here, but just to make myself feel a little bit better, I put this on here just in case there was some vibration and they made some contact. So like I said, I think we're doing pretty good. Of course, then again, I thought I was doing pretty good on this until you see what happened here. I got a video on that somewhere, so I don't know if it's been published or not. Alright, let me see if I can wire this thing up. Alright, the fan's in there working on this radiator hose. I'm actually going to hold off on wiring up the fan. I got to get some heavier gauge wire. All I got is, I got 12 gauge, but I want to go 10, a little bit heavier wire. Taurus fans are been notorious for pulling high amperage. It's not a bad thing. I mean, it's pulling massive airflow from what I've been told, so hopefully that's the case. Therefore, I'm also going to go ahead and make sure I got enough wire to handle the amperage. That's the reason I got high amp fuse relays, and I do have a 10 gauge fuse, inline fuse that I'm going to be using. Anyways, so I'm going to hold off on that. So I tried installing this little radiator hose. Pretty close. I wasn't expecting a perfect fit. Nothing on this vehicle is perfect fit. One thing, it is kind of kinked up right here, and it's kind of right there, so I'm assuming I'm going to probably end up cutting here, cutting right here, and put a coupling in between. Same thing I did down there. Shorten this section up, squish it together, make it a little bit better. One thing I'm not really fond of is this big old loop right here. I think it sticks way too far out here. What I'm hoping to be able to do is cut a couple inches off of here, off the hose, suck it up even further just to get this in closer. I'm wanting to get my air intake, do like a cold air intake hose, but I was hoping to come right through here, but we'll see. Yeah, so I don't know, we'll see. I'm playing this one part at a time. Heck, for that matter, worst cases, I'll just do a quick 90 on this thing. I'm gonna go ahead and cut a couple inches off here. I'm gonna cut one right here, make a cut here and here on the straight section of this hose. And I've got, let me see if I can find it. Okay, so I've got this much. Alright, so I've got this much aluminum pipe. Alright, so I've got this much aluminum pipe. It is about 8 inches. Yeah, about almost 8 inches. So I can cut at least, whatever, we'll see. I'll play it by ear, whatever. First thing I want to do is try to cut this, suck it in as far as I can, and then I'll make some marks and figure out how much of this hose I can cut out to make it look a little bit straighter. Get rid of this huge hairpin. Alright, I think I got this where I'm going to leave it. Cut a couple inches off here, the hose that is, cut 1 or 2 inches off there. Cut another couple inches off right here just to try to bring everything in some. And I cut quite a bit. I want to say I probably cut about, let me see. This right here is how much I cut out of the middle here. You can see right where the pipe swells right here and here. That's where I put a little my little coupling in there. I still need to get hose clamps, but yeah, okay, well, I'm done with this. Yeah, it's a 1.5 OD pipe, trying to squeeze it inside a 1.25 ID hose. It's tougher than you think. Spray it down with a little bit of oil, squeeze it in there. Probably don't even need hose clamps. I will anyways, but it's in there. Another plus with this little coupling in there, it's a thick wall pipe. If need be, I could always drill tap that for maybe my steam line. That steam line, maybe I could enter it there. Originally my plan, and my plan still is to put it down there, but we'll see. These options available. Alright, so now I get to pull these hoses back off, at least off the engine side. Try to tilt this whole engine down just so I can fix that transmission leak. Happy, happy, joy, joy. Alright, so I went ahead and wired the fan up. This little area is starting to turn into quite the rat's nest area. But let's see if I can explain what I got going on here. I got two relays. This is a dual speed fan. I got this is the low speed side, high speed side. I've got everything wired up with the exception of the actual triggers that go to the computer. And that's on these wires right here. Now the computer, if I'm not mistaken, it actually triggers a ground. So as soon as this goes to ground, it should pull in the relay, which should start the fans. So let me go ahead and try the low speed relay first. Just going to take it to a ground. Alright, we got low speed works. I can feel the relay picking up too. That's pretty cool. Let me take the high speed. Yep, high speed's definitely working as well. So, that's cool. Let me go ahead and wire up the triggers. I wanted to test it before. I wanted to test this before crimping the computer trigger wires on. That way I could tell for sure if it was a fan issue. That was the first time I've ever even ran the fan, so I wasn't even sure the fan was good. But we got low speed, high speed, my relay, everything's working. So the only other thing that is unknown is whether the computer triggers a ground, or if it triggers a 12-volt supply. I guessed wrong on the fuel pump. I thought it triggered a ground, but turns out it triggered 12 volts. It sent 12 volts to the relay. This one, I'm still going with my original theory of this being a trigger to ground. So we'll find out.